Ya, oh ya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Laili Husnanadia. I'm from semester 7 in STAINU Temanggung. Well, in Indonesia, there are 5 religions. They are Islam, Kristen, Hindu, Buddhist, and Konghucu. Of course, Indonesia people embrace in different religion or similar religion. Unfortunately, often happen conflict between them. And I'm sorry, nervous. Unfortunately, often happen conflict between them in the name of religion. And I would like to know more from Mr. Jerejori Vanderbilt and Mr. Ahmad Rafiq. Actually, what's wrong in this situation? Are different knowledge, custom, culture, or something else influence in this situation? And second question, what is your opinion about the secular states in which there is no separation between religion or state? So I think enough of my question. Thanks for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon. My name is Nail Mafirah. I'm studying a 5th semester of Islamic Religious Education in STAINU Temanggung. The honorable speaker, I would like to ask Mr. Vanderbilt, related to the conflict in Indonesia right now between religious groups, ethnic and political conflict that occurred in Jakarta, in your opinion, what role do you think that religious leaders should play in resolving these kinds of interfaith conflicts? And then, do you think that in general, religious leaders can mediate these situations? Okay, I think that's all. Many thanks for the opportunity. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Kinasar Wijaya. I am student of Gajah Mada University, majoring anthropology. Okay. Actually, I am from Tegal, Mapak ya. Okay. My question about the conflict. I see the religion have to face the creation and conflict. Yeah. Okay. All people agree the religion teach about peace, but in fact, religion cause conflict. So appear the court or aliran sesat, such as Al-Qaeda Al-Islamiyah, ISIS, Al-Ahmadiyah, and another. My question, how you see about it? How you see about it? About the conflict, about religion, the conflict and religion, the conflict and integration. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Please, Mr. Rafiq, to answer that question.
Okay. I don't know. I suppose I have only one question from the first, right? The sir, are you asking me or Pak Greg? I suppose Pak. Okay. Yeah, that's the conflict among people is actually not only our history. It's actually the history of all human beings. When human beings meet each other, that might possibly two possibilities. One is conflict, one of the integrations. So conflict can be cause of many things, as you said. So it is difficult actually to give the exact answer of the cause of any conflict. So what I could say then, facing with that situation, anytime we have the conflict, we have to push ourselves backward a little bit. That's the issue. So I'm a bit a pacifist. I'm a bit a pacifist. Jadi sederhananya begini, konflik antar agama termasuk yang di Indonesia itu bukan cuma sejarah Indonesia. If we check back the history, I remember well in 1844 in Philadelphia there was a big riot, a big conflict between Catholic and Protestant, right? In Indonesia we have also conflict, even let's say for example in Nigeria now, we see the conflict among Sunni and Boko Haram, which is actually Salafis. That's among Muslim. In Philadelphia in 1844, that's among Christian. So the conflict is not necessarily because we have different religion. Even if we have different position of religion, that might be conflict. Khawarij with Shi'i and Sunni in the era of Ali and Muawiyah, there was also a conflict of religion. So conflict can happen anywhere, any time. So what I want to say, that we have to have a very firm positions when we are facing the conflict. That's the point. Jadi kalau mau sama sekali tidak ada konflik, sepertinya juga mustahil. Tetapi yang diperlukan adalah kita perlu punya posisi yang firm ketika berhadapan dengan konflik. Misal, I can give you a very simple case. When there was a big demonstrations against Ahok in 212, people can get involved in the demonstrations without conflict if we can control, focus the issue on Ahok. But people will start even involved in the conflict if we couldn't control himself and then break the law during the demonstrations. Sangat sederhana. Jadi orang misalnya bisa protes sama Ahok, gitu kan, turun demonstrasi. Ketika orang fokus kepada itu demonstrasi. Tapi ketika orang tidak bisa fokus kepada isu itu, yang muncul adalah konflik. Kenapa? Karena orang melanggar hukum, orang breaking the law dan seterusnya. So I want to say konflik bisa terjadi di mana saja. Tetapi yang penting adalah sebenarnya yang disadarkan kepada kita semuanya, terutama anak-anak muda generasi bangsa itu, katanya generasi bangsa, bagaimana kita berhadapan dengan situasi konflik. Menghindarkan konflik sama sekali, that's kinds of daydream. Living without conflict is kinds of the daydream. Hidup tanpa konflik itu seperti, sorry saya agak apatis, saya nggak tahu tuh posisinya Mennonite atau tidak. Saya agak pasifis untuk yang itu. Makanya I know it well, the position of Mennonite, right? Mennonite, they are pacifists, they're not stopping the war, but they don't want to involve in the war, right? That's the position. Kalau tanya Pak Greg tahu lebih jauh itu. Jadi posisi gereja Mennonite di dalam Kristen itu bukan menghentikan perang, tapi mereka berusaha menghentikan kalau bisa, tetapi mereka tidak mau ikut perang. Di Amerika gereja Pak Greg itu dikenal sebagai Mennonite Church. Itu gereja Mennonite itu terkenal sebagai orang pasifis. Ya, dan saya termasuk dalam saya mengikut bukan saya mengikut gereja itu, tapi maksud saya lebih milih posisi itu. Tidak ada konflik, that's a bit difficult. Di rumah tangga aja ada konflik kok. Di kampus aja ada konflik kok, di mana-mana ada konflik. Yang diperlukan itu sebenarnya kedewasaan kita. Jadi yang perlu disadarkan kepada semua orang itu adalah bagaimana bagaimana berhadapan dengan konflik. When we can face the conflict in the best way, so the conflict will stop. But then another conflict will come again. That's what happened in the life. Dan itu yang terjadi dengan isu agama di Indonesia. Jadi ya, itu aja saya pikir pertanyaan ke saya ya. The rest is for Pak Greg. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again for your very good questions. So there are two basic issues that you raised. So the first one about the secular state. So if we look in history, we can see some different meanings of that phrase. If we look at the separation of religion and state, although we have to remember in Asia, it's always religions, right? Always plural. But if we take the example of France, in France it was freedom from religion, that the state would be free from the interference of religion. And now this has, in the doctrine of laïcité, recently we find some extremes of this doctrine of removing religion from public space, which generally the target becomes Muslim women, who are doubly have less power in two ways. And so I think the fact that the doctrine is overly strong has hurt the idea of justice in that society. In the American case, it was freedom for religion, that religion could practice without interference from the state. And in general, this has been made for a lot of creativity and a lot of room for many kinds of groups, including, as Masrofik just raised the example of my own Mennonites, who are unpopular in many ways, especially for that very reason. Those who refuse to fight in war are always considered unpatriotic, right? Unpatriotic, and to be considered unpatriotic means that your neighbors don't like you anymore. So, but the freedom for religion can allow sometimes religion to forget that, to become this majority that thinks that then it has ownership of the society. And I think we've seen that in many of the recent politics, this majority that wants to inflict an identity onto society in the name of ownership. So a secular state is an ideal. I think that it can be an ideal for creating a balance so that we can bring religion into the public space, but we recognize that the public space belongs to everybody. So even the demonstration, I think demonstrating is healthy in society, so long as it's not violent, so long as it does not claim victims. So I mean, the demonstration 2 weeks ago was very interesting in that way, and it showed also in the fact that Indonesians interpret it in many ways, show also that the meaning is not fixed. And maybe we will have more idea of the meaning on February 7th. What's the date? When we know who the next governor of Jakarta was. 17th. The second question about conflict between religions. Yes. And Indonesia has, in the sense Reformasi especially, we have seen places where there has been terrible conflict and then segregation with religion as the marker of the conflict. Last year I got to go to Ambon, for example, and it feels to drive through Ambon at night and in December and see where are Christmas lights and where are none. Feels very hopeless. Also to see burned down churches and burned down mosques feels very hopeless. I think partly we have to understand what is religion in this. Was religion a marker? Was religion an identity group that we think has to be defended at all costs? Or was religion a blessing for all mankind? So when we speak of conflict between religions, we can't say, well, it's really about something else, really about politics, or really about economics, or really about the environment, because religion motivates people. But at the same time, we have to ask religion, untuk apa? and see in what ways religion can challenge other interests. So if we make our religious identity so important, then we have to follow its teachings. So Masrofik mentioned the history of Mennonites. So Mennonites, because we feel that we are called to be peacemakers, and we feel that we are called to not kill, and we feel we are called to love our enemies, Mennonites traditionally have not fought in wars, have not joined the military. So that's part of the story. In the 20th century, Mennonites have tried to develop new ways of thinking about conflict, and to speak not only of conflict resolution, but to speak of conflict transformation. This is a very powerful phrase, conflict transformation, because it means that we don't just try to find a ceasefire, or we try to find a way to stop the violence or make the violence become quiet, but we try to re-evaluate, reconcile what is happening and transform. And the push for this is not economic or political, but rather from religion, from love your enemies as yourself, from be peacemakers, from be reconciled to each other as you have been reconciled to God. And this phrase, conflict transformation, is very powerful. I think if we look closely, we can find some examples of this happening in different places. So one place that is very inspiring is in Solo. Solo is Kota Sumber Pendek, is famous for conflict. But there is a project between one pastor and one kiai to make lembaga perdamaian antara agama dan golongan, and they try to bring into the circle not only the people who are easy to be friends, but Laskar Jihad. Laskar Jihad, after 10 years of invitation, came into the room. They still do bad things, of course, but we begin to have a conflict transformation. So if we think about conflict not only as inevitable, but also as opportunity, or I don't know, as a way to something that can be transformed. Maybe your question, can religion have a positive role? Maybe there is an answer there. I mean, when I look at the conventional interpretation, you feel very hopeless. But I think there are these small examples in the world. So in the university that I am affiliated to, there is a Center for Justice and Peace. So even begins from the idea that peace follows justice. Justice is first and then peace. And I mean, you can read about it, among others, in Sumanto Al-Qurtabi. He has written about this. There are many other people even that are looking for these places where we can find small example of conflict transformation. So I think they exist. So I think finding them. But one of the clues is the idea of interreligious, right? So again, the antara. And how do we extend the interreligious not only to include the nice people, but also those who are, for now, want to break the system in order to get something.
Okay, Mr. Greg. Thanks so much, and applause for both our speakers.